My parents have always been in business since as long as I can remember. My dad had a convenience store when I used to live in Connecticut. He and then he got into the hotel business, and when we moved to Kentucky in 2002, so I was about 10, 11 years old. And so if you know my family, it's just like growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of employees because my dad had three very good employees, his two sons and daughter, to help him out around the hotel. And so, I mean, growing up, it was a very hands-on experience, and so I saw how the business world works, how guest interaction operates, how um, customer service operates, how you handle a large entity, how you handle employees and everything. I saw that very early on, and so that's been my learning experience. So really, more or less, I've been doing this for 10 years now. I mean, it's as much as you would imagine. I have to obviously do all the management in terms of hiring employees, front desk, housekeeping, maintenance. You have to make sure you do all the customer service. You're dealing with guests, dealing with complaints, dealing with any issues with rooms. You deal with the franchise because it is a franchise, and so you deal with all making sure your payments are on time. That dealing with your superiors in the region and internationally. Um, you have to. It's really hard to put everything into a cohesive thought because there's a lot of work in different branches that really you can't no one really understands until you do it yourself. And so, I mean, you do it, but that's really it. You deal with guests, you deal with employees, and you also work yourself and try to make sure that everything is running smoothly in terms of the holistic property. The year net income really doesn't reflect well because hotels we do seasonal income. You have your summer income and you have your winter income because for most properties in the Midwest, your winter income is never that great because tourism is not a big part of the Midwest because of weather, because of the season. So in the summer, we our monthly net income probably is about, I want to say, about 15,000, and that's on a good year with ideal summer conditions with people that are visiting Mammoth Cave on a regular basis. If you're thinking of profits and losses, it's not running the property that makes you a profit, it's owning it. So people make money selling and buying and selling properties, kind of like turning houses. But I mean, why I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy business. I enjoy every aspect of guest interaction, customer interaction. Doing my work to upload a product and sell it to you the best way I can. And I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the process of the business itself. But I mean, yeah, if it's a tough world, especially because of this economy right now. Since 2008, we've been struggling, and it's been extremely tough. But I mean, you push through, you do what you can, and yeah. Not really. If you're a small business owner, um, yeah, there are some aspects to the Obama presidency, to Obama's policy, that um, the struggling small business owner wouldn't be a fan of. For example, you know, in terms of providing benefits to employees, which I'm a fan of, but at the same time, it's not always you're not always able. It's if you some months you just don't have the money, you don't have the income or or the capital to do that. But as a small business owner, though, at the same time, over the last 4 years, I've I think Obama's passed like something like 18 tax cuts for 18 tax cut bills for small business owners, and so that's really helped out in terms of my tax returns. Um, but I think I think and I may be wrong here, that if you're a large business owner, if you're in corporate, then you heavily lean towards Romney because of his policy, just because of conservative policy. But as a small business owner, Obama has been more or less a fantastic for me personally in terms of how I interact with the federal government. It does play an issue with a lot of people because it's on a very personal basis. But I mean my prin- but I mean but I stick to my principles that if you're blessed enough to make a certain income, you have a certain obligation to others. And I mean, if you and I mean, I'm not saying that the government should force you to give charity, but at the same time, I don't think that it's fair that if I let's say I made like $1 million a year, I would be okay with paying more taxes than the person that made 50, $60,000 a year and was struggling, or even less. You can get by with 50, 60. But so I mean, I think it's fair. I think I think it makes sense that if I was extremely wealthy, then I should give back more to my country financially than someone who isn't as blessed as I was. When you say small business owners, you're talking about the service industry. You're talking about hotels and gas stations and restaurants. You're talking about um, your local shops in your towns. Your florists, your photographers, your different management groups, whatever. And so, in terms of all of that, there are some basic principles in common. You have a net income, and but really most small businesses don't. But the thing is, so you just have to match your expenditures to your income at least. You want to at least break even. And the thing is, uh, every little break you get from that calculation makes it a lot easier. And so tax credits are excellent. um, Paying employees more. Well, that's a great idea. You have to look at it from the owner's standpoint. Is that it's just more money out of my pocket, or let me put it this way: it's a heavier burden, especially if you're if you're sufficient. Sorry, I'm sorry, dependent on your business for a source of income, and so I try to reward my employees with pay raises as best as I can in terms of who does the best, but at the same time it's hard for me to have to pay for insurance and or dental or any other benefits that will be required or demanded of me. And so I mean it's a tough what's I don't know compromise to make in terms of what's good for your business and then is what my personal principles are. But overall, though, the the pros outweigh the cons for the Obama administration towards small business. Because I mean, he has been really very friendly to small business, and I appreciate that. So as of right now, there's a few tax credits and small business benefits that are in effect, um, which would be set to expire by I think 2016. Based on where I live, I pay a certain tax rate. And because as a small business owner, that tax rate goes down. But here's the funny thing is that I make, considerably little amount of money as a college student. I do the best I can and with what I have, but we're struggling right now. It's not the greatest financial outlook right now. Um, but here's the funny thing is that Coach Calipari pays a lower tax rate than I do, which is outrageous to me. Coach Calipari, everyone knows where he lives, has seen his house, knows that he gets paid X amount of dollars, millions of dollars every year, coaching our UK men's basketball team. Which is, I'm a huge fan. I'm a great supporter. I go to every game that I can. Like I love Kentucky basketball, but don't get me wrong, that I think it's ridiculous that he should pay lower than I do. Personally, as a progressive, Romney's actually the better of the Republican candidates because I'm a fan of universal healthcare. My family, we don't make enough money to afford healthcare, so the fact so the ACA is a fantastic bill for us. You know what Obama did for Medicaid, gave my brother and sister health insurance again. I mean, we normally have to pay out of pocket whenever we take hospital visits, which you can imagine we don't take our regular yearly checkups or yearly dental checkups every 6 months or something because we can't afford it. And so, um, on a lot of but under the Republican platform, we wouldn't have that. So I know a lot of my policies dependent on like what's greater for the country, but I also have to think what's good for me and my family personally. And the Democratic platform, although I disagree with a lot of the stances, I support healthcare. I support women's rights in terms of the healthcare they receive, and also there's also like different policy like equal pay, um, which completely the Equal Rights Act or whatever guarantees that basically holds every business accountable to making sure that women get paid equivalent to men. And I mean, I personally believe in that greatly. But in terms of Romney's platform, though, why I don't side with him, why I'm not his biggest fan, um, I agree with him on being financially conservative, but his plan doesn't work. I've looked at his budget, his method to balance the budget, and I also looked at Paul Ryan's budget plan that he proposed about a year or two ago. And both of those basically spends money or spends money but doesn't plan to make up for it in any way. And so that doesn't make sense to me. And so I feel like that money will probably come from the people, aka taxes, aka the middle class, lower class, because they haven't said that they will not repeal the tax credits that the middle class has right now if you make less than $250,000. So that I imagine that's what's going to happen. And under the Romney presidency, I don't want that because I'm already trying to count every dollar and penny as it is. I can't afford to have even a few $100s ripped out from under my income because we're not very. It's hard for business right now. It's so many. There's businesses left and right declaring bankruptcy. Even like you'll watch the news and it says that the economy is picking up. Yes, people have more jobs in general than they had in 2008, but left and right, friends of mine, colleagues of mine are declaring bankruptcy. It's ridiculous. Like it's still hard for every business owner because we're still recovering, and so we don't get impacted until the larger community becomes impacted, and so you know I don't know what's gonna happen to my property. In this coming winter, like tourism is dead right now. No one is traveling because no one has the money to travel right now, and so I don't know if I'm gonna have the business within the year. I might have to sell it. I might have to if I can sell it, which it's a terrible time. It's awful trying to sell things right now because it's a buyer's market, but no one's buying. That's the problem. And so I might have to declare bankruptcy. I might have to just absolve the property and give it back to the bank. And so I think, but how my personal politics influence affects that, it's a different story.